Many people have doubted their salvation experience. Some people are really saved. They're really born again. And there are issues in their life that makes them doubt their salvation experience as to whether it was real or not. Other people have an experience, but they don't have salvation. Maybe they had some type of emotional experience. You hear some people talking about they had goosebumps or something like that. Or maybe they just prayed a prayer because somebody led them in a prayer. Maybe they were a child and they were just being led by I'm assuming, well-meaning adult in a salvation prayer. But they never really did get saved. It was nothing more than just their lips moving. It wasn't their heart. So doubting your salvation experience is not a bad thing. It'll do one of two things. And doubting your salvation experience, number one, can confirm that your salvation experience was real and that you truly are born again. Number two, doubting your salvation experience could lead you down a path to where you realize your salvation experience wasn't real, and hopefully you would end up getting born again because of that. That would be the best two things that could happen because of your doubt. Now, you should not let doubt make you live a life of never knowing, make you live a life of uneasiness, because you can know, you can have assurance if you are really saved or not. There are different reasons as to why a Christian would start doubting their salvation. But we have one good test. We have a really good test, more than one, but the one test I'd like to focus on today as to whether you really are saved or not, whether you really are a child of God or not. We find this test in the book of Hebrews, chapter 12, Hebrews chapter 12, beginning in the middle of verse 5. Hebrews chapter 12, the middle of verse 5 says, "My son, despise not thou the chastening of the Lord, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him. For whom the Lord loveth he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son he receiveth. If ye endure chastening, God dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not?" We find here in these words that if you can sin and it not bother you, apparently you are not a child of his. How can I say that? You say, Brother Jacob, how does these verses say that? Well, because these verses say that if you really are a child of God, you will experience the correction of God. Because it says that, I can safely say if you never experience his correction, you are not saved. He said here that he scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. That speaks of the correcting hand of God. There is not a child of God that sometime or another does not experience the chastening of the Lord. Now, it's in verse 7, it says, "If you endure chastening, God dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not?" Now, here in our modern age, we have softies for parents that do not believe in physical punishment, corporal punishment of their children. And I am a firm believer that the Bible strongly teaches in a physical punishment for your children and raising up your children. It's necessary for them. Of course, I do not advocate abuse, never have, never will. But physical punishment, physical correction is what God instituted to train a child up in the way he should go. The Bible teaches the teaches the fact that if a parent loves their child, they will correct their child. They will punish their child. That in the same fashion, those who are the children of God, because God loves them, will get corrected by him. That is a good test. Am I saved? Well, have I been corrected of the Lord? Let's read on down a little bit. Verse number 8. "But if ye be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then are ye bastards, and not sons." In other words, you're illegitimate. You're really not a child of his. "Furthermore, we have had fathers of our flesh which corrected us, and we gave them reverence. Shall we not much rather be in subjection unto the Father of spirits and live? For they verily for a few days chastened us after their own pleasure, but he for our profit, that we might be partakers of his holiness. Now no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. Nevertheless afterward it yieldeth the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby. We find that he is chastening us for our own good. He is doing this for our own good, for our profit, in order to make us more like him. As he said, "Be ye holy as I am holy," he chastens us to bring us closer to fulfilling that goal. So if you do not experience the chastening hand of God and you claim to be a Christian, I would check up on my salvation experience, my salvation story, to make sure it is a real one and to make sure I am a legitimate son or daughter of Jesus Christ, whichever gender you may be. But if you are chastened of him, you can have assurance that when you get into sin and he bothers you about it, when you get away from him and you feel his hand on you in chastisement, you can be sure that you are a child of his, if that is the case. Thank God for his correction. If it wasn't for his correction, many more Christians would be going the wrong way. I thank God for his correction on me. Now, just as a child does not necessarily appreciate the correction of a parent as it is being inflicted on them, it is for their own good. And one day they will be thankful that they were corrected. In the same sense, as I may not enjoy or as I will not enjoy the correction at the time it is being given from God, I will be thankful that he did it to me and did it for me. So if you feel the chastening hand of God, chances are you are saved. If not, you need to look at your salvation story, make sure it's real.